explain to the nation on what you meant on slowdown in transgender and abortion agendas in Africa.
Yeah, first of all, I think congratulations to Donald J. Trump. That was a wonderful comeback. He was president 2016, 2020, and the Democrats pushed a very hard agenda, and things were hard. There was COVID. I think the economy was on a slowdown, and they pushed him out. But he's back with his, MAGA project, Make America Great Again, and is saying there should be no need for these foreign wars. So I think we'll see probably an end to the Ukraine-Russian war. Mm-hmm. We'll see de-escalation in the Gaza, Israel and Lebanon conflict. Yeah. For Africa, sometimes I cry because our wars are forgotten. Our wars are never discussed. Even our presidents would rather discuss Ukraine and Gaza, and they don't discuss the conflict in Eastern Congo. They don't discuss the instability and wars in Sudan. They don't discuss, the terrorism that has arisen in the Sahel region. We are not discussing strengthening democracy, and we're allowing people to begin to celebrate coup d'etats in Africa. For me, that's very unfortunate. We shouldn't go to an era of coup d'etats and one-party states, which, for example, President Hakainde Hichilema is trying to foster a one-party, de facto one-party state in our country. The transgender agenda is a very big agenda promoted by the Republicans, tooth-pronged. They want abortions on demand, over the counter. They want Africa to open abortion clinics across the continent in the name of safe abortions that you require to save the lives of these girls that are, we have a crisis of teenage pregnancies. So their solution are abortion clinics. And for me, as a Christian, I fundamentally differ with that approach. Where is the church? Why are young people engaged in this wanton sex? Why do we have these teenage outbreaks? And the issue, even if there is this teenage pregnancy outbreak, is not abortion. The children, the children should be allowed to carry to full term those children. Their grandmothers, their sisters, or themselves. The state can come in, but to propose abortions as a solution to teenage pregnancy, that for me, our country should never get to that. But that's what the Americans, especially the liberal Democrats, push. Then the LGBT, they want to elevate the LGBT issues as human rights. Now, LGBT rights are not human rights, but they want to blur the line. They want to put this in UN conventions. They want to put this in African Union conventions. They want to put it in your laws that you decriminalize homosexuality and that you should allow gay people in your community because they are born like that. All those are lies. So again, pushing such an agenda with millions of dollars where they target Ministry of Education, where they impose comprehensive sexuality education so that they can change the mindset of children, that from the day they are in preschool, the children begin to accept that there is male, female, and other genders. That is dangerous for our country. I think other than that, we are traditional and cultural. We're also a Christian nation, and we want to recognize two genders, male and female. Sometimes there is an issue of intersex. That is totally different, because the issue of intersex is children are born like that. It's a congenital disease. Children are born. Children are born like that, whether with two sex organs or one could be muted, the other one is quite strong, and the child begins to change. Looks like a girl when they are between 1 and 10, between 10 and 20 when they go into puberty and they're adolescents, then they maybe manifest manly features and then they don't know who they are. Those cases are very rare. But the LGBT jump on that case.
Want to leverage on that.
Leverage on it and try to show that homosexuality, people are born with it. Now, it's against our traditions and culture. It's against our laws in Zambia. Homosexuality remains illegal, although we have pre-colonial laws.
Yeah.
You have seen countries like Uganda, Kenya, Ghana update those laws to demonstrate that homosexuality.
And do you also think there's need for us to update laws, especially on abortion? Because I think I was trying to go through the laws on abortion, and it's neither here nor there. Across the country, abortion is legal. So long they like to term it or put it in a bracket of safe abortions. Do you think there's also need that we patch up those laws on abortion? We
need to. Remember, I was in a lot of trouble when I was permanent secretary in Northern Province. There was an organization, that is still here and is still very active, that was conducting up to 400 abortions a month. So for me as a Christian, abortions a month in Northern Province. That time Northern Province was under me, both Muchinga and Northern were one. So this organization was conducting up to 400 abortions a month. So I looked at the law and my principles as a Christian and I banned them. I was in a lot of trouble. The following day I was summoned to State House, to the Vice President's office, Dr. Guy Scott, and I found officials from the American Embassy, officials from this organization and the Vice President, and they wanted to understand why I had banned this organization. So I said, look, I've looked at the 1972 Termination of Pregnancy Act. It doesn't allow what they're doing, where they're coming in, whether the abortions are chemical or not. It's not allowed. Yeah. You require 3 doctors. I'm struggling to have even 1 doctor at a district. Where are they getting the 3 doctors to conduct the abortion? So the abortions are totally illegal. No, but they're doing cervical cancer screening. They are doing STI screening. I said, that is welcome. But they can't conduct abortions. No, they have approval from Ministry of Health. I said, that again is illegal. Who has allowed it? Looking at our law. But since I did that drastic action, what this organization has done is to set up abortion clinics across the country. And they've recruited 3 doctors. And
they're currently operational?
They are operational in our country, and they have clinics everywhere, abortion clinics. And they've gotten, the law says you need 3 doctors. They've gotten the 3 doctors who are signing on those forms to affirm that either the pregnancy should not be carried because someone is poor or unable to. They're finding reasons, but they'll get the 3 doctors so that they meet the legal requirement in our country that abortions should be legal.
I think this is a conversation that we should have I think specifically.
So there I agree with you, Angel, that we need to update our laws because they've gone through the loopholes and are still conducting mass abortions in our country legally.
And you feel that with Donald Trump coming back as US president, there may be that sweeping effect to say, hey, come down on these agendas that you're trying to push.
Oh, remember what he did during his period as president? Yeah. He scaled down on funding for those that are promoting abortions and also for LGBT. He says, look, why don't we invest in the church? Why don't we invest in advocacy? Why don't we invest, for example, in programs that are abstinence or, that sex should be in marriage? Why don't we increase the other programs? Why are we first to promote abortions, contraceptives, and condoms? Why shouldn't that be a last resort? Yeah. So Donald Trump, he has made a minister of health, as we call them, Robert F. Kennedy, the nephew to the famous president, J.F. Kennedy. Now, Robert F. Kennedy speaks very radically about these issues. For example, he's what they call an anti-vax. He thinks vaccines are harmful to our children, and that's now the new Minister of Health in America. So we are living in interesting times, and I hope that we'll have a Minister of Health like that who will push programs, because we are guinea pigs. Do you need a vaccine for cholera? Cholera, you need to clean up your area. You need to unclog your drainages. You need to provide clean water and clean ablution. That is a cure.
So
you cannot provide.
So you're not for the vaccine.
Come on. Do you need a vaccine for cholera? Do you need a vaccine for diarrhea? These diseases arise from filth. Why don't you give the council money to RDA and others to build these drainages in our areas, to sink proper boreholes and provide sewer lines. That's an investment you need to do. Vaccine, cholera vaccine, come on.
Yeah. All right. One last question before we get into the hot issues. The President Hakainde Hichilema has also been very categorical on these issues, especially to do with the homosexuality, where he says, look, we're a Christian nation and we're not going to allow such activities in our country. These pressures have been coming, but from what we have got from him, he's been firm and he said, look, we're a Christian nation and these activities are not allowed in the country. Do you think that's enough, or that should also be backed by new laws, just as you said for the abortion laws?
Sadly, you can't believe President Hakainde Hichilema. He will tell you that milli meal will come to 50 kwacha, and it will not. It will actually go to 400 kwacha. He will tell you that fuel should be at 12 kwacha and fuel is at 34 kwacha. He will tell you that you bring down the exchange rate to 12 kwacha. The exchange rate is racing towards 28 kwacha. He will tell you that he will not give Vedanta to the mines. And he gives Vedanta, KCM back to Vedanta. So the President Hakainde Hichilema's word can be taken to the bank. You cannot trust his word because he has broken so many promises that it's extremely difficult to trust him.
Well, maybe this one is not a promise. This one is just sort of reaffirming to say, look, as a country, we stand on these principles, so we'll continue to stand.
He stands boldly in church, in parliament, and at public forum. And he says, I will not allow the Inspector General of Police to keep persons in detention for more than 3 days. You should arrest someone. If the matter is bondable, give them bond by 14 hours. You have seen how we have stayed in prison for many days, in jail for many days. My dear brother Thomas Ziamba was in prison for 16 days over a matter that's bondable, over a matter that's bailable. He was not presented to court. Even a guy like Kelvin Sampa, who's accused of having stolen $80,000 and $100,000 and $70,000, has gone to the High Court to tell the Inspector General of Police that he was detained beyond 48 hours. So I have difficulties to believe the president. He makes these noble pronouncements and does nothing about them. So I ask, because it doesn't matter where he makes them, whether in parliament or at church, he will even receive claps and applause and does something else. Last time I was here, I condemned the July, the Lusaka July, usually held in August or September, for promoting homosexuality. I'm glad that this year, we need to commend when they do well. I'm glad that
So
this
for this
year,
one you're commending?
Yes, I commend them, because clearly they were very strict that no one gender should wear dresses or outfits for another gender, that come in your own agenda, on your own gender. I think that was a very beautiful thing for Lusaka July. They not only yielded to our pressure, but they rose to the norms and cultural requirement of our country. And that is what we need to do. So we don't need these programs they're promoting at Ministry of Education or Ministry of Health, and these kids that are being sponsored on social media to make it look normal, that it is normal for boys to be girls or girls to be boys, and they've got large following influencing our young people. People should know that behind what they are seeing is a lot of funding for these kids, either to open fashion clothing or to open salons or to open. There is a lot of money behind to portray that the lifestyle is normal, that it is okay in our country for boys to be girls and to practice homosexuality. So thank you about President Hakainde Hichilema. I would like him to live up to his own words, his own pronouncements.
Okay. All right, now let's get into some of the issues. I think let's start with the political side of things that you've been engaged in. Let's first talk about your suspension. Faction leader, Honorable Robert Chavinga, had a press briefing, I think should have been last weekend, where he expelled the former head of state, President Edgar Lungu, you and also other members. What do you make of your expulsion, and what's the latest? What's the latest? What can you update us with regards to these particular issues that you're facing as a patriotic front?
Yeah. So remember, that the Patriotic Front has been under attack since last year. You saw our dear brother Matero MP, Miles Sampa, attack the secretariat, storm the secretariat, raise a bonfire. We went to the police. Look, our brother is on suspension. He cannot come to the secretariat. We have capacity to repel him, but we are coming to you as law enforcers to ensure that you prosecute him for that trespass. The police protected him. A few days later, he held an illegal conference. Before he could hold that conference, we went to the police. We have information he has paid at Mulungushi. He wants to host this conference. Look, none of our members are attending. Look at our program. If you are hosting a program, it has to be authorized by the party. This is not an authorized program. The police instead went up to 200 of them to protect Miles Sampa. We complained this is illegal, but they didn't listen to us. We went to court. So there's been an attempt by the state to take over the Patriotic Front. It started with the sponsorship of Miles Sampa, and to allow him to hold a so-called extraordinary conference that resulted in he himself calling himself PF president. Totally illegal. When we say there's a shrinking democratic space and that the state is trying to destroy the opposition, this is a classic case of that. Matters have been in court. Most of them, there was an attempt by the Chief Justice. He came in, he says, you guys, you have too many cases. Every time Miles Sampa suspends someone, you come to court. Every time Miles Sampa does this, you're getting an injunction. Why don't you amalgamate all these cases? And we did that. Only to see the matter again thrown out by a judge saying that there were multiplicity of cases. And that was crazy because we had withdrawn all cases. So what multiplicity were, but we knew that the judiciary was under pressure to ensure that they destabilize the Patriotic Front. So the happenings of last week by Robert Chabinga, I bemoan that first of all, we clothe illegalities with attention. The media should not have attended that conference. First, there was a court order from the High Court obtained by Miles Sampa, which stopped that Robert Chabinga to hold any conference or any press conference. It even restricted certain media organizations, including ZMBC, to not to cover an event if you were to have a press conference. But of course, it's not only Robert Chabinga who defied an active court order. It was also the media like Kalemba, ZMBC, who were cited that they shouldn't even cover Robert Chabinga. So what we see is a celebration of anarchy, a celebration of lawlessness. And it's difficult for me even to comment about what Chabinga then pronounced. It's illegal, it shouldn't be given any credence, but they are determined to enforce the illegality. Like they did, Miles Sampa holds this illegal conference. They recognize him at Registrar of Societies as party president, and they even change what we call office bearers. That was totally illegal. Lawlessness perpetrated by the state. When the state engages in anarchy, like we saw even Parliament, even change the leadership of the opposition, where they removed Brian Munduvile as leader of the opposition. They removed Stephen Kampiongo as opposition chief whip. They removed Anton Kasandwe as deputy, and they replaced him with this Robert Chabinga. Totally illegal processes. If you have the state promoting anarchy, where should citizens run to?
And just the ambassador, because it's all confusing. I actually listened to the press briefing by Honorable Robert Chabinga.
You participated in the illegality.
I was listening to it, just to ensure that I'm also up to date with whatever is happening, with regards to current affairs. What was very confusing is you actually claim that at that particular time, Honorable Miles Sampa was sponsored by the state, right?
Yeah.
But during the press briefing, Honorable Chabinga was very clear to say, I've also suspended Miles Sampa, and I'm going to write to the National Assembly that he's been suspended and that the National Assembly should declare his seat vacant. That's the Matero seat. So do you still believe that Honorable Miles Sampa is still being sponsored by the state? Or there's been a turn of events? Because
what is happening is very simple.
What's happening?
I think Mal Sampa, you must have seen a picture of Mal Sampa with former President Edgar Lungu. That's where his problem started. We have not been privy to the discussion between Mal Sampa and President Lungu. But for the state, they felt that their program had collapsed. So they shifted their attention and sponsorship to Robert Chavinga, so that maybe Robert Chavinga then could supplant Mal Sampa and play the role that Mal Sampa was previously playing. Remember, Mal Sampa had written a letter that the 9 that I had expelled, he renounced his own letter. And he says, no, we shouldn't have this. And he replaced Robert Chavinga at Parliament and put in new leaders of the opposition. The Speaker disregarded a letter from Mal Sampa. The same Speaker who had accepted the letter from Mal Sampa under the directive of Mal Sampa to Morgan Ngona.
Secretary General.
Come on. The President can write a letter himself or can delegate in any organization, including our country. The policeman can come here and arrest me in the name of the President. It doesn't have to be President Hakainde Hichilema to turn up here, but the policeman can use his powers to come and arrest me using the powers of the President. So of course it was ridiculous. So the pronouncement by Robert Chavinga are totally illegal. They can only be given the attention that they are being given by ZNBC, Kalemba and other media because it's a state project to destroy the opposition, nothing else. There's an active program to forestall a dictatorship in our country. There's an active program to shrink the democratic space. There's an active program to steal the 2026 elections because President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND know that they can't win this election. Our people are...
Ambassador, do you feel... let me take you back to after 2021. When the former head of state said, look, I'm done with politics, I want to rest, I want to concentrate on something else. Do you feel, I know there's issues that you've talked about. Every time I ask, do you feel you delayed the next general conference? And you said, look, whatever delay was necessary so that we have these things in a proper way. But do you feel maybe the resurfacing of the former head of state has also just made things a little bit complicated? Do you feel there are members within the Patriotic Front that would have just loved maybe the Patriotic Front to move on without the former head of state? Do you think there then lies in, some technicalities or some maybe group siding, this one, this side, this one, that side?
So the state justify the destruction of the PF by saying, look, you are your own internal wrangles. What we are seeing in Mal Sampa and Robert Chavinga are your own internal wrangles, even when they know it is not. It's a case of a home where husband and wife have difficulties and challenges and they are quarreling and fighting every day. And then you as an outsider come in, pick the wife and begin to have a relationship with her. It doesn't justify because they have problems. Therefore, an adulterous relationship becomes okay. No. I think you should allow them to resolve their issues or end their matters before you come in. So it doesn't give the state the right to enter into the challenges and difficulties of the Patriotic Front. And on the issue of the former president, they cannot choose for us who should be our leader. They should leave that to the Patriotic Front. Whether they want Emmanuel Mwamba, Brian Munduvile, Shimbaka Mbwili, GBM or anyone else, or Edgar Lungu in this case, it should be an internal matter of the Patriotic Front. It shouldn't be an issue of State House.
Yeah. And my question was members within the Patriotic Front. Do you feel that some members within the Patriotic Front that ever since the former head of state returned into active politics have been uncomfortable with his presence? Because clearly if Honorable Robert Chavinga can, claim that he's president, maybe he's one of them that are uncomfortable that he's back. That the former head of state is back.
Both... Robert Chavinga was not in good standing. He was suspended at the time of his misconduct and he remains suspended to a party. That is why he finds comfort at State House and he finds comfort in attempting to destroy our party. You cannot have a PF member who would insult Michael Sata or Edgar Lungu. You cannot. Clearly that tells you that they are not members of the Patriotic Front. Yeah. So the way Robert Chavinga postures himself trying to destroy a party founded by Michael Sata. He's not a member of the Patriotic Front. A man that takes excitement in ridiculing our president, sixth president, who served for 7 years. He is not a PF member.
Yeah.
Our members respect President Edgar Lungu. Our members respect President Michael Sata. And if you're a PF member, you would not insult Edgar Lungu. In fact, we've welcomed his leadership. We've welcomed, since he came to rescue this country, to help the opposition rescue this country. We've welcomed that. He has gravitas, his former president. You know, he has a huge following in our country, and we want him to help us, help the opposition, help political alliances to come.
Another question of concern coming through from, of course, members of the public is that, all right, Ambassador, we do get you. There are quite a number of issues that you as a Patriotic Front are going through, and also there are a lot of court cases. But what is difficult about, all right, Honorable Chawinga, Honorable Mao Sampa, the former head of state, and other members of the Patriotic Front, to forget about the courts, settle this issue outside the courts, sit around the round table and discuss and move forward from there? Because at the end of the day, democracy still needs a Patriotic Front in its intact form. So what's difficult about just settling this outside court and having to say, let's move in this direction?
So there is an adulterer standing at the door. There is an adulterer in the name of the state destabilizing the home. We were welcomed when.
But don't you think you can still sort it out without the state?
Yeah, we welcomed when Mal Sampa came over and had the discussion with our former president. We loved that idea. I think that's what people that support the opposition, that support democracy, have been calling for. Sit down and discuss these matters. But if, for example, Robert Chawinga has vowed that he's been sent to destroy the Patriotic Front, that he has come to ensure that there is no Patriotic Front by 2026, how do you reach out to someone, a mercenary? How do you? How do you? I think it's up to him.
Because you want to sort out issues.
Well,
you at that particular time, you have to play, what do you call it, the big bro role. Say, look, maturity over everything. I'm going to pick up the call him, he comes, we have a conversation.
Someone who's paid to destroy your party. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that can work. But if he's willing to come and discuss with us, we'll not close the door. If he's willing to come and like Mal Sampa did, where he began to have cordial discussion with us, where he withdrew his own letter of expulsion for our members, where he began to make amends of the destruction that was done between 2023 and 2024. That is a welcome process. Not like Robert Chawinga, who vows to destroy us. So, who vows to destroy the political party founded by Mr. Sata. That we shouldn't allow.
Ambassador, let's take a short breather. We do have the top of the hour coming up at 10. Just after that, we'll continue with our conversation. The number is 0956 200 490. You can also follow this conversation live on Facebook. It is RCV News. So just after the top of the hour, we continue with our conversation. Good morning. Okay.
Thank you very much for those following us by social media. We're currently on break.
Yep.
I hope I'm not live for you.
No.
We're currently on break. Let's just allow a few minutes to pass. I'll take a moment, and I hope we'll discuss it, Angel.
Yep.
The increase of $20 given to all civil servants. I think that is a scandal, and that's a scandal. Our civil servants have gotten across the board an increment of 500 kwacha, which is $20. I think that's ridiculous, looking at the price of mealie meal, price of fuel, price of electricity, price of everything. I think that paltry amount, in light of even the inflation rate, doesn't even go near. And look at the food basket. There's a matter of Dr. Samuel Munzele Maimbo, who is the candidate for Zambia to the Africa Development Bank. I issued a statement that I don't think that this government is doing enough. So there'll be an election in May in Cote d'Ivoire. The Electoral College are ministers of finance and central bank governors. And the field is already crowded. There's Makta Diop, who's currently managing director of the International Finance Corporation from the World Bank, like Samuel himself. There's the World Bank's private sector. There's Abbas Mahamat Toli, the former governor of the Bank of Chadian Central Bank. His name is Abbas Mahamat. He's a governor of Banque des Etats de l'Afrique Centrale. So Central Bank of Chad, they have a candidate there. Then you have Hassatu Diop Nsele, the current vice president in finance. And then you have Wajabulile Swazi Shabalala from South Africa. So SADC has been split in two. So I issued a criticism that I think that this government must first of all form a committee to champion the campaign for Dr. Samuel Munzele Maimbo. I think that first you need to give him worldwide, Africa-wide coverage. Go to Kenya, go to South Africa, go to Nigeria, go to Egypt, go to Senegal. Showcase him. Not these videos they're issuing on social media. I said they should get him a minister of honor who should take him around to each heads of state. I said, look at what Raila Odinga is doing for the position of African Union Commission. What William Ruto is doing. William Ruto is taking his candidate Raila Odinga everywhere. They were at FOCAC in China. He took him to the United Nations and held various cocktails for African stakeholders and African heads of states. He takes him to every meeting at COMESA, at SADC. He brings in his candidates. So I urged that the president must do the same. Okay, so we'll be going live. Let's resolve to our live audience. Are we back?
Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear anything, but the time in Central Africa is 10:05, and you are still listening to Friday's edition of Chatbag right here on Radio Christian Voice. My name is Angel Kasabo, and a reminder that this conversation is live on Facebook. You go to your Facebook and search for RCV News. RCV News, of course, is a platform where we post everything current affairs. So come through and let's get interactive. The number is 0956-200-490. And this morning we are looking at national issues that are affecting you. And my guest this morning is Patriotic Front Information and Publicity Chairperson, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. All right, let's get to. Let me just have a last word on these issues that you are facing with Honorable Chawinga and also Honorable Mao Sampa and other members of the Patriotic Front. So at this particular moment, is it safe to say that the only thing that you are waiting for or waiting on is the courts of law, and you've resolved that, look, you cannot sit down round the table, all you have to wait is the courts of law? Is this the sort of the last resort to the issues happening in the Patriotic Front?
The Patriotic Front is the largest political party in our country. It has membership in places where you actually sometimes don't find UPND members. You can go to Chama South, Chama North, you can go to Shangombo, you can go to Zambezi, You can go to Solwezi, you can go to Nchelenge and Chiengi. You will find not just members, but the leadership still intact. So the Patriotic Front is the largest political party in our country. Hence, it has been targeted for destruction. There is a clear attempt to destroy not just the Patriotic Front, but the opposition. What we are facing with the issue of Miles Sampa, with the issue of Robert Chabinga, is to attempt to destroy that base. The only party that can singularly win elections in 2026, even without alliance members. So they want to dismember it, destroy it, put factions in it, as many factions as possible, to try to destroy that unity. You've heard President Edgar Lungu state very clearly that he has come to politics first to unite the opposition. He wants the opposition to be united, that they should front one candidate. Of course, for all of us, we are saying, look, he's former president, he has large experience, he's leading the largest opposition party, let him be the candidate. Of course, this should be, I think as we go towards 2025, I pray that the opposition, whether it's UKA, Tonse, and these political parties that are outside any alliance, such as the Socialist Party, such as the Zambia Must Prosper, such as, Kasonde, EFF is Kasonde, that there should be a way of all of us moving to a unified candidate for the opposition. Okay. I pray for that unity because, like, for example, we're going to have a by-election in Kawambwa, by the way, which is totally illegal. It's totally illegal.
What makes it illegal, Ambassador?
Because there's an active court case in the Chinsali High Court. There's even a court order, an injunction against ECZ to hold that by-election in Kawambwa. Honorable Nixon Chilangwa obtained that order successfully, and it hasn't been discharged. So it's illegal and contemptuous for the ECZ to call for that election. In fact, if this was a lawful state, she should be in jail for that contemptuous process. They are saying, no, there's a ruling from the Constitutional Court, and therefore this matter has been overtaken because the Constitutional Court says you have to hold elections within a period of 90 days. No, it doesn't work like that. If there is a new pronouncement, that should be precedent from the Constitutional Court. Go to the court which is you are affected. Go and present your legal case. Go and tell that Constitutional Court that in our view we think that you should discharge this injunction because the Constitutional Court are telling us that it would be legal to hold an election outside the 90 days. Besides, it has already been 90 days. When did they send Chilangwa to prison? You know, they've refused to give him bail. He's entitled to bail. He has challenged both that conviction and sentencing. He's supposed to be a free man until the court finally determine his conviction. The Constitution is on his side, but they've put him in jail so that they can satisfy what they call if a member is serving a prison sentence. He has disputed that court outcome. He has appealed against that court outcome. So that is illegal. What they are doing in Kawambwa is illegal. The council chairperson, again, there was a court order. ECZ disregarded it and proceeded to have that elections. They are trying to do the same again.
For the candidate that resigned?
No. Kawambwa, there's a candidate who's co-charged with Chitotela, who's also in jail. And they proceeded to have an election. He hasn't even been sentenced, and yet the court order. Remember, Chitotela and four others were just found guilty. The sentence can only come from the High Court because it's beyond 10 years. So for him, he hasn't even been sentenced. He's not serving any prison term, but they proceeded to have a by-election of Kawambwa Council chairperson. The level of lawlessness that is occurring in our country is shocking. The impunity by the state, led by President Hakainde Hichilema, to disregard the Constitution, to disregard the law, to promote lawlessness, to undermine the rule of law is extremely shocking. So in Kawambwa, you may have Tonse with the PF, you may have UKA, Citizen First, you may have Socialist Party field the candidate. That's already crowded for the opposition. The opposition must begin to seriously think that they should present one candidate, not just in this election. If we do a test run of how to participate in these by-elections, then we'll be ready for 2026. Because what will happen in 2026 again, we'll field numerous candidates. And although President Hichilema is an unpopular candidate, although UPND people are complaining about it, they may just go through on account of an opposition that is not united. So my call is for the opposition to rise above their personal interest, their party interest, and to look at the country and the nation. Zambians are looking at the opposition to rescue it.
Yeah. All right. Let's also now get to issues that are affecting household economies of the ordinary Zambian. And for starters, let me start with something very new that came through from government. An announcement that was made that civil servants effective 2025, there's going to be a 500 kwacha increment across board. What's your reaction to this increment?
Ridiculous, totally unacceptable. Look at the price of midi meal. It has jumped from 120 in 2021. It has jumped, now it's hovering around 400 kwacha. Look at the price of fuel. It was 17 kwacha in 2021. It's now at 34 kwacha. Look at the price of electricity, for example. It has trebled within the last 3 years. Look at the price of cooking oil, of sugar, of rice, of everything. The cost of living crisis is the highest we've ever seen in recent memory. Inflation rate was around 10-11% last year. It's now at 15%. So then you give them 500 kwacha, which is $20. How will they survive? The bread basket, bread and nutritional basket, is standing at 10,300 kwacha. The lowest paid employee in government is around 4,000 kwacha. Yet they require 10,000 kwacha just on food alone. So what about rent? What about school fees?
Yeah, but Ambassador,
what about survival?
Don't you think it's for this particular increment, it's understandable, seeing that the country has, passed through a drought and then finances were stretched? So don't you even think this is something that, despite all these difficult economic challenges, this is something that perhaps we should commend the government, say, look, yes, things are not okay, but at least the 500 is better than, better than nothing at the end of the day. Because finances have really been stretched.
Angel, we should put things in proper context. We had bumper harvest in 5 provinces. Northern, Luapula, Muchinga, parts of Copperbelt, and parts of Northwestern Province. Mm-hmm. Yes, we had severe drought in areas like Lusaka, Southern Province, parts of Central Province, Western Province, but you had a bumper harvest in certain areas. Yes, we are facing one of the worst droughts, but yes, we are facing one of the worst decisions made by a very poor government. They exported maize. We had plenty of maize. They kept on exporting. There was a prediction in 2015 that you're going to have another worst drought by 2023-2024. This government could not listen, even when we were as early as July 2023. International bodies that watch famine, international bodies that watch food security, international bodies that watch the weather warned that we're going to have one of the most severe drought in Southern Africa. You saw those alerts. But our government kept on exporting not only maize, but they kept on exporting also electricity. Zambezi River Authority gave them very limited water. I think they get about 15 billion cubic meters. They were given half of that, about 8 billion, to use for the entire 2024. They had finished it by June 2024. Why? Because they kept on exporting the power. They kept on running those machines and depleting water at a high level. In November 2023, I remember that our Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, Christopher Kangombe, stood on the platform of Parliament. And that's the Minister of Agriculture. Their prediction that we are going to have this drought, there will be a dry period between December and February. They are saying, we We haven't seen it in many years. Why are you still exporting maize? Why are you still exporting meal? You saw Robert Mutolo, Chipata MP and who's the Minister of Agriculture. Ruben Mutolo, thank you. He says, no, we'll continue to export maize and meal. It doesn't matter what happens, we'll continue to export meal. And now they want to cry that there was a drought. Now they want to cry that we have load shedding because there's drought.
The other reason for the continued export of maize is that the former regime, the Patriotic Front, left a huge debt that needed to be sorted out. Do you think that's reason enough?
Currently, they owe 521 million to our farmers. Our farmers are already in farming season and they haven't been paid. I saw some notice the other day from the 500 million. Yeah, that they've released. So, did they need to export to pay the farmers? What a ridiculous suggestion is that? That you have to empty your grain. So, if you are broke, what kind of thinking is that? I don't understand this government. But that's what they did. Okay, I mean, you are broke in the house. Do you do that? Don't you go out now to go and look for money, maybe for relish? Or whatever pressing issue, if it's school fees? You don't sell your stock that makes you food secure. But that's what this government did. They said, no, ZESCO has a big bill. That's why we are exporting this power to Namibia and Botswana and South Africa. Here they are now, they're importing. And ask them what the import bill is. Then what was the purpose of dismantling that debt? You said ZESCO is laden with debt. That's why we are exporting. Now you export, like Fefi Nachalanda, that's what they've done. Now they are importing, and look at the bill they are spending per day. So the crisis is self-induced. We had one of the worst drought and one of the worst load shedding in 2015. We never took a begging boat to EU, to the IMF, to the US like they have done. We ensured that we're self-sufficient. We ensured that areas that receive rain, like northern Muchinga, Luapula, Copperbelt, northwestern and eastern provinces, were given sufficient fertilizer because we knew the drought will affect the southern part of our country. And we had a bumper harvest in the midst of one of the worst droughts. Look at the 2015 maize harvest. It's one of the biggest from 2010. But that's when we had the worst drought. Is planning. Even in this drought, we could have planned. The information was available. The technocrats had given us. The organization had given us. So the increase of 500 kwacha for civil servants is totally inadequate, looking at the reasons that I have given.
Yeah.
Inflation rate is at its highest. The cost of living crisis, the worst we've seen in recent memory. The prices of everything has totally gone up.
Yes, Ambassador, every time you sort of give solutions to whatever is happening in the country, especially on the economic side, either solutions or your reaction, even the president has been on different podiums to say he doesn't expect members of the Patriotic Front, the former government, to make comments on the economy because they are the reason as to why Zambia is facing some of these economic challenges. And also, some Zambians have bought into it and said, look, we actually feel that that's true because all these solutions that they give, all these, would-be interventions to whatever is happening, why weren't they implemented during their stay in office?
The best marriage counselor is not even married, a priest. Sometimes the best advice on marriage can come from someone who's divorced. Why? Because they've walked through the fire. They know what makes a marriage and they know what destroys a marriage. The Patriotic Front has been through the fire. It recognizes its mistakes and it can forewarn you. In fact, that's why former leaders are usually put in advisory council because the path you are walking, they've walked it before. If President Hichilema was wise enough, he would have put the former President Edgar Lungu literally like one of his best friends. Because as a drought was coming, he would have said, Mwana, what did you do in 2015? we had the worst drought.
Yeah, but it's,
You would have been told,
but it's
look,
come back into
the
actual
drought.
politics, so that now makes it very difficult to, have some sort of.
No, that's a story
conversation.
for another day.
Yeah.
But a former
But that's
president.
why maybe why he's not
the,
not
the,
getting
the,
advice
the,
from
the
him.
former president gives you the best advice. He's been there. What you are walking through, the corruption from your friends around, the people seeking tenders from around, people stealing from the treasury, the challenges you are facing, he has faced them before. There's no better advice than someone who's a former managing director or who's a former manager. They've nothing to lose. They just want you to succeed. So all the things that President Hakainde Hichilema, his predecessor, had passed through, even proceeded to lose an election. So why is President Hakainde Hichilema repeating the mistakes that were made by previous governments? He's obstinate. He doesn't want advice. He thinks he knows it all. He thinks he can rule this government by his common sense. It doesn't work that way. Here we are in a country facing crisis like we've been at war. All the indices, if you look at our poverty level, 60%. Libya, which has been consistently at war for the last 15 years, is positing an economic growth of 10%. We are at 1.2% as if we are at war. Look at the DRC. What's causing that? What's causing this cost of living crisis? Why are you giving pottery amounts like 500 kwacha to our civil servants? Because you've given away the wealth to the mining sector. The mining sector is not paying adequate, just, fair taxes. You've given them unnecessary incentives. Now you have to punish the workers. You give them a 500 kwacha and you take away with high taxes, high cost of living, and you leave them in destitution. What is happening in our clinics, our health centers, our hospitals, totally pathetic. You keep on hearing statements from Ministry of Health and from ZAMSA that they are adequate medicine, but they are not adequate medicines. The Cancer Disease Hospital in its third year is literally closed. You have various crises. We have cholera on the outdoor. And like I said, they think cholera vaccine should resolve the issues, not cleaning up drainages and shutting those shallow toilet facilities and pit latrines and giving our people clean water. They think it's cholera vaccines. So you have a country groping in from one crisis to the other. The IMF has just told them that their projection, the minister in 2022 said the economy will grow by 4.5%. It didn't. It grew at 2.5%. In 2023, he said it would grow at 4.7%. It didn't. It grew at 2.5%. Now he said it will grow at 4.5%. It's now only going to grow at 1.2%. And with those conservative figures, I can even dare say that probably we are in a recession, because it's likely going to negative. And if you see the pronouncements by the Bank of Zambia,
effects that the drought has had on the economy. Right?
Come on.
Let's talk about energy.
No.
Energy moves literally almost everything. So there is a good benefit to, give them, say, okay, fine. Because of drought, that's why perhaps we're going to take this route.
Yeah, I've always given an example. When ZESCO was crying about lack of water in Kariba, our friends across from the same lake were pushing more production. What did they do differently? They planned. ZESCO could have planned, for example, 3-hour load shedding beginning from last year when the warning came. They would have conserved enough water that wouldn't have gone through the current crisis that we've gone through. Look at the destruction this has done to the economy because of careless decisions to export power, careless decision just to run those machines at full throttle, even when they've told you that you have a drought and you are going to have less water.
Yeah. Let me just get your opinion on corruption, the fight against corruption in the country, seeing that we have to pick up calls and also get to people's text messages. How would you rate the fight against corruption in the country, seeing that there is some people that feel that as a country we're moving in the right direction with regards to the fight against corruption? They've been seeing all these forfeitures that have been done by people that have been pursued for corruption, and also now we're starting to see convictions of people that have been pursued for corruption. But also, are you surprised that in the midst of all this, I think it should be now 4 months, that the president is yet to replace the board members that were at the Anti-Corruption Commission after he dissolved, I think, for 4 months ago? Are you surprised that it's taken him this long to appoint new board members at the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, and also Director General?
First of all, there's no commitment to fighting corruption. I saw where they were touting that they've recovered 1.5 billion kwacha and 110 cars. Come on, you pick cars from the PF that were meant for campaigns. This country has 156 constituencies, has 10 provinces, has 116 districts. We buy those vehicles to cover the area, like UPND did. You confiscate those vehicles, you call them proceeds of crimes. But you have not confiscated the ones from UPND. How did they buy their vehicles? Then you parade those vehicles because, you know, sometimes they are not registered in the party or in the names of our party. You say, no, we've recovered. What recovery is done? A similar thing was done in 2011.
They said they recovered them because if those vehicles for the party, then the party has failed to show how they managed to purchase those vehicles.
They did the same for MMD, and all their vehicles were impounded. Later, almost 7 years later, MMD won, and the vehicles that were paraded as successful forfeiture were in fact not. The state was ordered either to pay, refund, or release those vehicles. You are going to see similar things in the future. So they lie to our people that they're fighting corruption. Let me give 2 clear cases before you open your phone lines to demonstrate that this government is not fighting corruption. In fact, it's the most corrupt government in the last 60 years. If you see what's happening in all institutions, it's the most corrupt government we've ever seen. The sale of Mopani. Mopani has an investment of $4.5 billion, okay, between 2015 and 2020. $4.5 billion. Mopani opened brand new shafts in Cyclonorium, Mindolo deep shafts at Nkana in Kitwe, and the Henderson shaft at Muflira. They also opened a new concentrator, $4.5 billion into Mopani. This is a brand new mine, new assets. You sell it to an owner who we don't know. You sell it to an owner for $1.1 billion, and that $1.1 billion doesn't come to the treasury. You are saying $400 million will go to paying Glencore. You are saying the other 600 million kwacha will be to, pay suppliers and restart them. No. First, you don't tell us who the owners of this mine is. IRH. Every time you do a due diligence, you can't know who they are. They don't exist. They only registered in 2022, and then they were affiliated to one of the biggest sovereign funds. I think to hide, to obscure who literally the owners of that IRH is. And you have Delta, who are now the local owners. There's just confusion. That's one of the biggest scandals this country has to look at. You have a mine that has just invested $4.5 billion in assets and is sold for $1.1 billion, and none of that money is coming to the treasury. And you don't even know who owns Mopani. They tell you these are the people, but you can't find them. You have the case of First Quantum Mine. There's a big case. First Quantum Mine are on record. There's an audit that has established that they stole $2.5 billion in 2011 to develop the mine they were developing in Panama. The records show. You challenge them.
How did they steal the 2 points?
So Kansanshi, we own, JCCMIH own Kansanshi Copper and Gold Mine, and FQM have the majority shareholding. And they transferred these monies from the sale of copper and gold from Kansanshi Mine illegally up to $2.5 billion. This government comes into power, President Hakainde Hichilema. The PF started a process to prosecute the directors for the theft. $2.5 billion is a lot of money. We've been crying to the IMF for the last 3 years for $1.3 billion. A company has stolen $2.5 billion. We took them to court and wanted the directors to be also prosecuted for theft. Why do you arrest someone who has stolen maize, a cell phone, but you're failing to arrest someone who's stolen $2.5 billion? When this government came into office, they immediately discontinued that case. They have not even given us a pathway of how we are going to recover that $2.5 billion from First Quantum mine. In fact, now they tell us that First Quantum is investing $1.3 billion. No, First Quantum is one of the largest taxpayers. $2.5 billion. This country is tethering at the brink of collapse, economic collapse, and is almost in recession. Why don't we get that money? Why are you spending 3 weeks in Washington trying to get $1.3 billion, but failing for your friends who are in the backyard to collect that $2.5 billion? And why have you given them these unnecessary incentives where they are barely paying any taxes to our country? For me, this is the most corrupt government ever.
I like how you've claimed that this is the most corrupt government ever, but also, Ambassador, have you been, raising these red flags? If you say that this is the most corrupt government ever, have you been reporting some of these cases that you feel are cases of corruption, and just, ensuring that the SEC follows up with these corruption cases that you allege that
I've reported
corrupt
I've reported 5 prominent cases to the Anti-Corruption Commission.
What's been the response?
None at all. I reported the $110 million that was being spent to pay Zimbabweans for poles when we could have bought them from Zafico and other local contractors, and procurement processes were not followed. I've reported the corruption at Ministry of Health. I've reported corruption at Ministry of Mines and the award of licenses. You have seen me walk to the SEC and deliver a letter and publicize the details of my complaint. Nothing has been done. And I'm not the only one. Kasonde has done similar things. A lot of people have reported to the SEC. And that's why President Hakainde Hichilema has emasculated that institution. There's no board. We are going to 5-6 months. There's no Director General. It's headless, and it's deliberate, so that then they can't fight the corruption we are talking about.
The number is 0956-200-490, 0956-200-490. You can give us a call on that particular number, and you'll be through to the program. 0956-200-490. Good morning, you are through to the program.
Good morning, Comrade. How are you?
Very well. Your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, this is Comrade Mkosa. Good morning, Mwamba.
My dear brother, Comrade Mkosa, how are you?
I'm better than you. How are you today?
I hope you are farming with this season, my brother.
I have been always farming.
Good.
Even that time when you as PF, you are giving us farmers a road deal. Buying 50 kg of maize at 90 kwacha. I was already in farming.
Oh, good.
And now
good.
We are happy that we have a president that has allowed us farmers to gain from the sweat that we endure during this time by giving us a good price at 330 50 kg of maize. Yeah, coming to the issues that we have discussed here, I want to deal much on mining, where you are saying there is corruption involved. I think sometimes, Mwamba, we know you are a propagandist.
No, I'm not.
Mr. Mkosa.
Don't call me names.
Mr. Mkosa, just go straight to your your contribution very quickly.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to say is that in this country, even you people that are in opposition, you have been saying, let us allow Zambians to learn the mines. But again, the cry of that we are getting again from you, the same people are saying, in that mine, there is some Zambians. Your problem is that there is some Zambians that are also members of that same company that is that was given Mopan, and you are complaining about that. You are complaining about money not coming at once, when you know that investments into the mining money cannot come at once. It comes in phases. You see what you need to fund first. That's the money that you bring in. You cannot just bring all the money, then you buy the Ankara. For what? Huh? That the first thing, if you want to clear a gringo, you bring money for gringo. If the second thing, you want to clear my suppliers and whatever, you bring that money. If there is the need of injecting money into production, you bring that amount which is required. But you have a total figure, which is the same figure you're talking about, the 1.1. But because you always want to mislead Zambians, because you believe Zambians are gullible to be always buying from a propaganda, you always want to bring wrong figures and wrong statements. Yes. I think you need to stop that, Mr. Mwamba. I think this is what I had this morning.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, Mr. Mkosa. Let's get to our next caller. Good morning. You're through to the program.
Good morning.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from?
I'm calling from Copper Belt. Mr. Mwamba, good morning.
My dear sister, good morning.
Your name? You haven't given us your name?
My name is Diana.
All right. Go ahead with the contribution.
Mwamba, Mulelanda 100%. Abo Vamkosa. Menteki statusi Vamkosa. Ikwasinya abachapa kufula kula bomba po yo mnabo. Bale tacha kitusi mpantu baluzi. Mwamba takwa boko maini muichita amatransaction yabela kunfe. Mwumva amatransaction yabela kunfe maye mupi abonumba ya rubusha muda mupaja mimi. Mwavula mwafuna kuli mupani mwachitando over kuli badeuta. Ushamula mkopa dot mshwalipena. Tuwalipena ifwe. Namu ishwabela angalila kuma mines. Wela angalila kuma mines. That's kuma production. Na kuli batuka kuma production. Production ifuma kuja. Bakontolele buno sobale chitando over kunfe kuja. Elo nomba babenya abantu. Isala nali ipa ya abantu. Bena bale irumba fyatu bale irumba. Petra izabale yakanya. Tamasaka bale yakanya tulatuna mwakala mcooperative omuli mokulu. Bena bale simona nomo okula chitovunga 360 bale simona nomo. Abantu lovunga bwa ZDNet bale sirokula buchitovunga bale luilo obuwa 230 Mwamba. Alaika taneni isheba vula toto bala izika mu iyo toto emo ba UPNG emo ba president mu toto tetu mena mkuchita tempa ku register mwachita tempa chavinga samba mwamu kwachira meeting kunganda samba bapoka amafoni abantu bonse kwa isabela ifwe ifya ishiki kwa sati opposition PF ngabaifo kusala baya ku mulungushi loko authority not kulia bayile kumulungushi conference nabantu nchamba poka amafoni preso chikwiri okubale kwenye opposition yibombera bene balikwata constitution usikuzinga 50%
All right, thank you so much for your contribution, Madam D. Really appreciate that the Copper Belt is listening. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get another caller. Good morning, you're through to the program. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Angelo.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from?
Vashmalan, Copper Belt.
Yes, Vashmalan.
Mshani wa Mwamba.
Bana mulishani.
Ubuchushi bwetere banyudoni. Abantu bonke balelila baleyomba. Mr. Emmanuel Mwamba mulelanda mashui akankala sana. Muna Zambia onse okutamano afuire Aisha. Nanguni bamukosa bwe balechula. Deli bale ilishanyo kwe bati baluspezi mwa iturekeresha ntala ifukuno. Mamuneni. Kawarisa pa bale itake kunyana hani yakwe bati bayi wamilikisha. Delonga mwa isefe mulelanda amashui yenani akankala. Bana lolo MP bali landire stadio kwebo kwebati ifyamo pani filya mune kati muri bukuruku mure mona umuntu wabo ale ilishanya MP so banyudoni bantu abatete mutitenani yakwati mateteke yawe bantu ke amakuruku bantu nga mwamona inonsta bantu nga mwamona bantu bale chula bantu ngamwa konti abantu bale ilishanya ngomba ukabavotera muntu nzwe so please our position mkwato mtima umu Ewa bena Zambia 24 kumiyo yakuba kwa ngati waleka wa UPNG batapita tukatampo kuli abana besu mkwa inatotera.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution, Vashimalan from the Copper Belt. Let me squeeze in a text message here. This one says, "Good morning. Good morning. I'm enjoying the program." Okay, no name for that one. Okay, another one just confirming that they're listening to the program, but you can come from the number 0956200490. and we can have a conversation over there. That's about how many? 3?
Yes.
Okay, let me get one more, and then we'll get back to the phone lines. Good morning. You are through to the program.
Hello.
Yes, your name and where are you calling us from?
Yes, my brother, good morning.
Good morning.
Vashi Precious usakile kitu okubala ekiwulisha sana abantu okubufiibwa aba UPND. Emmanuel Mwamba mwashibuke bakalamba banyi.
Vashi Precious alishani Precious.
Gracious abana banji balite bwino.
Chakutasha.
Emukwaye. Mwamba neo former UPND coordinator usakile wati. Ngamwaisa kuno ba Emmanuel Mwamba ndefo ukusachana hand over katika UPND. So Emmanuel Mwamba kwebenda ona ali mu UPND mukumya pobuteko bwa PF twalenda kwebamu mumapasi twakalushi twakunda twakumufurira ukulamufwa abantu balenda pa PF alisho ba PF yalafumapo. So napapele ba Emmanuel Mwamba nalimya lulu bachimalani badayana abantu bambi tule matu aenda ukwishyura atu balenda pa PF atu pa UPND to come 2026 yakapite ba Mwamba. So abantu balefa abavuma president balungu ukonso ko twaya abantu balefa lungu ali wino emuntu alabwe keshapo. So ikata neni kwa opposition papa. Then Melenya mTV taire tambi mutwele ko shafishi fikike kumelenya mTV ushana badi isala ba UPND na ngushani. Then ba Emmanuel Mwamba ndelo mba 2026 okuba campaign mukansende kuwa planka yelo ndolwela abakuru apula ofe baba tukirense ko bataze asiya kalima bakatolika mwachule nina imwe kuse mule tukwa ku ba UPND na
thank you so much Vash Precious for your contribution. Let me squeeze in this one. Okay. Good morning, you're through to the program.
Yes, this is Bishop Mwanza calling from Livingstone.
Bishop Mwanza from Livingstone. Go ahead with the contribution, Bishop.
Yes. I just want to urge people that are phoning to that line that this line is countrywide, where we need some constructive questions. I have one question for Mr. Mwamba. Being a man of God, we saw what has been happening, and a lot of things transpired during the time of PF. I would like to know, what new policies is PF coming up with that are going to change things that you are opposing? And when you are in opposition, I believe I worked with the late Mr. Sata when he was a governor. I worked with him in so many portfolios. I know I may not talk a lot, but the PF that we are seeing and the PF we saw after the demise of the late Mr. Sata, may he so rest in peace, is not the PF that we are seeing. Kadaism, what is it that you need to talk about? You need, what new policies, in short, that I'm saying, what new policies are you going to bring? Because here we want to bring issues that are going to make people think that when you bounce back, you are going to bring new things, the things that you are opposing. Are you telling this nation that the things that we are passing through, where are they coming from? The genesis of these things. Mm-hmm. We tell the nation the truth, because being a man of God, I always believe in people telling the truth. You call a spade a spade. Okay. Please, Mr. Mwamba, with due respect, I need you to articulate well. Yes, you can oppose, but you need to articulate well and come up with something telling people that after this, then this is what we're going to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Bishop Mwanza. But Ambassador, I think honest, I think we only have 2 questions from all these callers that we received.
Why?
So let me push in 2 more.
Oh, okay.
2 more so that
okay.
you respond to them at a go. Good morning. You are through to the program.
Hello.
Yes, your name and where you calling us from?
Yeah, this is David from Kwacha Kitwe.
David from Kwacha Kitwe. Very quickly with the contribution.
Kwacha constituency.
Yes.
Mukitwe mu constituency ya mwaliba abakyashi ba Malandi. Nke ya milimo. Mwe ntungulushi nkalamba mulishani uko ba Emmanuel Mwamba.
Bane mwabombeni.
Kwena ifwe nsala kuno.
Ya, icho chintu muri chipowe mchalo.
Na load shedding yali tupesha. Mwe bantu imwe tuli aba bantu umaneni fyaka client bombeshe apa tufikite ukutamsya mumbwe noti nenseko ukutamsya mumbwe noti nenseko ino twadimishwa mulinka sha milimo bali tubeperi obufyu bati n'obufyu babalire ku babepa bakashimu mayanda baya bepa n'abapongosha abantu obufyu bwatira icyo tabafwire balabana ngo bonse abale umva kwishiwiri abena Zambia natunaka n'obufi twalinaka n'obufi twalinaka apa tulelanda so fertilizer na inoite bale bambi bale yakana kuno fino ndelanda fintu natitela witness mu previous government ishamwene pokwa kana po fertilizer. So please tuwa afweni chalo cha Zambia mwinka sha milimo.
Okay.
Tuwapapata nsala ya chila.
All right.
Bati lenga tupisa pamela ifile ya fumako. Nombela yidi mo kuchila na padia. So please tuwapapata premi papata.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution. Let's get the last call, Ambassador. Good morning. You are through to the program. Okay, we lost that caller. Good morning. You are through to the program. Okay, I think the line there. Let's see if we can get this one. 0956 200490. Okay, let's see if we can. Oh, okay, all right, Ambassador. That's quite a number of contributions.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, let's see if we can finally squeeze this one in. Good morning. You are through to the program. Very well. Your name and where are you calling us from?
Okay, this is Raymond Chirufa calling from Kitwe. Honorable Mwawukasha.
And Dita Raymond, Christian Kukitwe.
Mule mfwa tosi waletira na ikosa kuno Kitwe. Waletukanya tuma contract tumaini umu. Economy wa honorable ili mumino ya foreigners nomba. Wadi yeshi ba PF kwa chwa ba mwese shi economy mumino yesu na Zambia. Rumana afshupa kuno Kitwe. Then afshupa uwalela ndokwa chioni drought. Stay drought honorable. Bari weya kuiromberaya. Ekira mukwato ungara mwikarira bayashitisha. Amona ba. Rero ba IMF bambukuye kwati yo isule nitazama. Bari landasha nitazama a pipeline. So honorable muko sefe ofini abantu bonse barelanda mwikatane ba opposition kwati kwabe kwanukula kwa abantu kucharo mweko sanity at least abantu mufwe ko honorable. Natotera sana honorable.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your contributions, Ambassador. You've got starting from Comrade Mukosa, Madam D from the Copper Belt, Washimalan, Wash Precious, Bishop Mwanza, Raymond Chilufia, and also forgotten the other gentleman from Kwacha constituency. Very quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much. My dear brother Mukosa says we are complaining about Zambians being, shareholders in Delta, which is a subsidiary of IRH, which has bought Mopani. No, that's not the issue. The issue on Mopani are very, very clear. That number one, they needed parliamentary approval. That's what the Constitution in Article 210, Sub-Article 2 calls for. Any sale of state asset, transfer of its shareholding requires that you go to Parliament. They didn't go to Parliament. And then the deal is terrible. It's $1.1 billion in utter just pledges. Remember, they released $130 million for Mopani to pay some suppliers and contractors. And then they've said they'll bring, they paid the other 400 to Glencoe. Then the 600 million will be coming in drips. My dear brother Mukosa says, no. Mining is different. You don't have to keep the money here. You keep it when you need it. As of course, that's folly. That's totally folly. that mine requires that it's running, and it's running very well. Our view about Mopani, like I demonstrated, is that it's literally a new asset. It was in the hands of ZCCMIH 100%. We should have just gotten professionals to run it, Mr. Mkosa. There was no need to bring these fuzzy and non-investors over Mopani. That's a brand new mine with new investment of up to $4.5 billion, with a projection of copper and cobalt. ZCMIH should have run that mine. And besides, they could have gotten the money. If you can compare NAPSA to look for $500 million and give the Chinese to do Lusaka and Dollar Joe Courage, why can't you find money to run one of your best exporters, one of your anchor to your economy, which was Mopani? Of course, the interest there is private and foreign interest. And this is the trouble. Let me answer Bishop Mwanza. He says, what will you do something differently? Yeah. I think, why did we lose power? Cadarism, political violence. It was these peripheral issues. We didn't lose power because we didn't work. PF was building roads, bridges, crossing points, power stations, dams. It was building schools. It was building colleges. It was building universities. It was distributing fertilizer to our people. By April, May, the fertilizer was with our depots and sheds in districts and provinces. PF lost power because of peripheral issues. And PF, had serious issues of drought that affected it, 2015, 2017, and then the worst, COVID, in 2020, and army worms. These somehow affected our economy, but not to the extent our friends who came on a platform to resolve this crisis, and they've sunk the country further. So, Bamkosa, that is our issue. Let me answer the others. Like you said, most of the callers, I'm glad, Wash Precious, but Diana, we're all commending us to work very well. I'm glad that there's a debate about Mopani, and there's demand that the Minister of Mines, Honorable Pokabuswe, must issue a comprehensive factual statement, and he should unveil the owners of IRH and Delta to Parliament, to our people. And the matter, Bashmalan said Nalolo MP. No, it wasn't Nalolo MP. It was Chinga from Kalabo. Kalabo MP is one of the oldest MPs from the UPND, very experienced. He also wondered who the owners of Mopani are. And so it is very important. So Bishop Mwanza, PF would do something totally different. First, they were on course with infrastructure development. They were derailed by these issues. It's good to go back to the programs and shed away the negatives that affected us. Awa kukwacha Kitwe, thank you, and thank you for your support. Church ine tulinkaya milimo ngamalanju ine mwachilanda. The duty is for us to work together, and you are right, fertilizer up to now bale yakana mmameda. Raymond from Kitwe bemoaned that the economy is being run by foreigners, and you can't have money. No foreigner will ever develop your country. It should be made very clear, no foreign investor will develop your country. We have this belief that if we bring foreign investment, therefore then our country will be developed. No. If I invest in Namibia and I make profit, I'll bring the money here to Zambia. That's how investors work. Why would I begin to build a school in Namibia? I would rather build a school here. I'm in Namibia just to make my money. That's how investors work. That is why if you saw Vedanta came here, they were a small company. In the last 20 years, they siphoned money from KCM and built an empire in South Africa, Namibia, Eastern Europe, and back in India. They even formed a school, I think KCM school, a business school, one of the best schools in the world, the business school, by Vedanta, money from Chingola. So that's what investors do. They take the money to where they come from. They will leave you crumbs, like they will employ a few thousand people. You pay small taxes, but they will ensure that they don't pay any taxes and externalize as much money as possible. Yes, so it's folly to believe that a foreigner will develop this country.
This one I think is a bonus question. Let me get it. Says, good morning, Angel and Mr. Mwamba. Kindly comment on the ideologies of the Tonse Alliance, because we have seen you, Ambassador, tight with the Tonse Alliance.
Oh, thank you very
I
much.
think this one just a quick one.
Yeah, the Patriotic Front is in alliances. It's in the United Kwacha Alliance and recently formed Tonse
So
Alliance.
the Patriotic Front is in 2 alliances.
Currently.
Uka and Tonse.
Correct.
Okay.
And we've said we'll have as many electoral pacts and as many alliances as possible. That's our ethos. That's what our party decided. If people are not comfortable with what we've decided, well, we may part company. But for us, our role is to unite the opposition. Even when we're in Tonse, we should be allowed, for example, to speak to the Socialist Party. We should be allowed to speak to the Zambia Must Prosper. We should allow Tonse, Uka, and others to grow, that we should front one major candidate in the 2026 elections. President Hakainde Hichilema is a danger to our country. And I say that solemnly because his interest is to promote foreign investment. His interest is to promote multinationals and private interests. His interest, as you have seen, is not to grow the economy. He has sunk it. He found an economy that was growing and he has sunk it. Everything that he found maize, up to 1.5 million metric tons that we had gotten, he exported it. He was warned there's a drought coming, he kept on exporting power. He's not one that will grow this economy. And our people, you cannot put our people in the pain and suffering they are going through, and you don't show demonstrable commitment to resolve their poverty and the crisis, to resolve their cost of living crisis.
We'll have to leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you, Angel, and thank you to you, to management, Christian Voice, to our callers, both for and against, and to our country. God bless you. God bless our country. Shalom, shalom.
This is why we come to the end of today's edition of Chat Back. Up next, we do have the news.